A 9-year-old boy walks backwards up a hospital wall, defying gravity in front of a licensed social worker and a stunned police officer. He didn't fall. He didn't stumble. He glided toward the ceiling as if pulled by an invisible, malevolent force. One detail doesn't add up, and it changes everything. In 2011, a small, unremarkable rental home on Carolina Street in Gary, Indiana, became the center of a nightmare. This wasn't just another ghost story whispered by neighbors. This was an official investigation involving the Department of Child Services, the local police department, and a hospital medical staff. They called it a portal to hell. Over 800 pages of official reports were filed. Professionals who walked in as skeptics walked out terrified. And until today, no one can agree on the truth. The horror began when LaToya Ammons moved into the house with her 3 children and her mother. It started with a subtle, visceral wrongness. Even in the dead of a freezing Indiana December, swarms of black flies began to cover the porch. They would kill them by the hundreds, only for the swarms to return moments later, appearing from nowhere. That was the warning, but here's where everything gets strange. LaToya's mother was startled awake one night to see a shadowy figure pacing the house. It wasn't a person. It was a silhouette that seemed to absorb the light around it. Then the physical attacks began. LaToya's 12-year-old daughter was found levitating above her bed, unconscious. When she woke, she had no memory of the event, but the bruises on her arms told a different story. That's when investigators noticed something impossible. The most famous incident occurred. LaToya's 9-year-old son began to growl. His eyes rolled back. In a clinical, brightly lit room, the boy stepped onto the wall and began walking backward toward the ceiling while holding his grandmother's hand. The social worker fled the room. The nurse stood paralyzed. What they witnessed was recorded in the official DCS report as an unexplained event. What happened next would confuse the world for decades. Police Captain Charles Austin, a 36-year veteran of the Gary Police Department, was called to the house. He was a man of logic. He entered the home convinced the family was pulling a prank. He left the house as a believer in the paranormal. Austin reported that his radio malfunctions every time he entered the property. He captured a photo of a shadowy figure in the window after the house was supposedly empty. When he checked the basement, he found a layer of white sand under the stairs and a strange oil dripping from the walls. But the police weren't the only ones afraid. Local priests were summoned. They performed 3 separate exorcisms on LaToya Ammons. During these rituals, they claimed the house shook. The temperature dropped 40 degrees in seconds. The family spoke in voices that weren't their own, mocking the priests in languages they had never learned. The authorities were so shaken that the police captain himself admitted he was afraid to stay in the house after dark. The Gary Demon House remains one of the most documented hauntings in American history. Yet 3 theories still battle for the truth. Some investigators believe the entire incident was a case of shared delusional disorder. They argue that LaToya Ammons, under extreme financial stress and living in an old, possibly mold-infested home, suffered a breakdown that her children and mother mirrored. The social workers and police, caught up in the tension and the family's conviction, began to misinterpret normal events as supernatural. If this was a hallucination, how do we explain the medical staff at the hospital? These are trained professionals used to dealing with mental illness. They witnessed a physical act, walking up a wall, that defies the laws of biology and physics. A hallucination doesn't explain why a police captain's equipment failed, or why high-resolution photos showed figures that weren't there. The logic of madness fails to explain the physical evidence. This theory suggests the house was built on a thin spot between worlds, or that a previous tenant had opened a door through occult rituals. The sand in the basement and the oil on the walls were signs of a nesting entity, a demonic presence that was using the children as a battery to manifest in our reality. The house wasn't haunted, it was a doorway. While this fits the terrifying symptoms, it leaves a dark question. If it was a portal, why did the activity stop when the family moved away? Portals are tied to a location, yet LaToya claimed the shadows followed them for a time. If the entity was tied to the bloodline and not the house, then the demon house was merely a stage for a much more personal darkness. Skeptics argue that the family orchestrated the events to gain fame or a book deal. They suggest the children were coached to act out, and the levitation and wall walking were clever physical tricks performed when people were distracted or in low light conditions. They point to the fact that the house was eventually sold to a paranormal investigator as proof of a financial motive. This theory falls apart when you look at the risk involved. LaToya Ammons lost custody of her children during this investigation. No mother would risk losing her family for a hoax that might never pay out. Furthermore, Captain Charles Austin and the DCS workers had nothing to gain by lying. In fact, their careers were put at risk by claiming they saw something supernatural. Why would a veteran cop risk his reputation for a stranger's prank? The house on Carolina Street no longer exists. Zach Bagans, a well-known paranormal investigator, purchased the home and had it demolished in 2016. He claimed the energy inside was too dangerous to be left standing. He filmed the demolition, but he also claimed that something from that basement followed him home. Something that changed his health and his life forever. If the house was truly a portal to hell, does destroying the door actually stop what's coming through? Or did they just remove the only thing keeping the darkness contained in the ground?